All right, it says we are live. Let's check it out. Oh, let's go. Oh, there we are. We are live.
All right. I'm not really going to mess around with Twitter too much to see if there's any late breaking news. If there is, then I think we'll just miss it.
I'll let you know. I'll be looking at it.
So we've got about 15 minutes till they release, and they're doing some stupid can thing, I guess. Like they're going to draw cans to. Why did they record it? Why couldn't they do it live?
Why do they do anything like that? I mean, they did it virtually an hour ago.
I mean, I guess I just don't get it. I don't. It's on Facebook, so it's not like they were locked in. Oh, well, we got to go on at 9 o'clock because of NBC. No, it's your Facebook channel. You can do it whenever you want. So if you recorded it an hour ago, why not just do it live an hour ago? And the people that want to watch it at 9 o'clock, they can watch it taped at 9 o'clock, like the rest of us have to do anyway. It doesn't make any sense.
Why is it on Daytona's Facebook and not NASCAR's?
I don't know. Yeah. Maybe there's something with Facebook, like they have to get, they want to get a certain amount of numbers or traffic. I hope that it's not, well, we got to get that West Coast Facebook audience.
Which probably is.
I wouldn't put it past these fools. Anyway, so we got to wait 14 more minutes to find out who we can play and who we can't play. Is there a starting position? Just kind of killing time. No one's really watching yet. And I imagine people just fast forward through this. But is there a spot where you wouldn't play Chase Elliott?
The only way I think it would be viable is if he's inside the top 5.
You wouldn't play him. You might consider not playing him.
Yeah, if he starts in the back of the field, I think that's chalk you have to eat.
So basically, like inside the top 5 will probably be his lowest ownership, probably throughout the field. But let's take a guess. How low do you think it goes? Whatever the worst spot is. I don't know if that's 4th or 5th. But what's up, Big Action? What do you think is the lowest ownership spot for? So let's say 4th is that spot, whatever. How low is his ownership going to be?
On the low end, probably over 60.
I have him
50%. Yeah, I have him projected for 68, like anywhere.
68%.
That's what I've been working with.
And is that saying he has a good spot, a bad spot?
That's
what's as high as you have it then? If 68 is the lowest ownership you have for Elliott going into this, what's the highest?
I have 74. I think 3 out of 4 lineups would have him, regardless of where he is.
Would you go over that?
I'm not playing a lot of money. I'm playing one lineup in like 4 contests. This is the one slate I'm avoiding. So if he starts in the back of the field,
might be a place where you can play a bunch of lineups and get away with it.
I don't want to get burned. I have so much money.
Do you think this is going to be chalky then? Do you think it's going to be chalky, or is it going to be completely random?
It's going to be very chalky. So
why not play a lot of lineups then? No, if you think that it's going to be chalky and it's going to hold with your projections, then why not go kind of heavy? I would understand if we thought this was going to be really fluky and random. And like, I don't want to risk it. But it looks like it should be. I mean, the only way that we go wrong is if everybody's really racing. If everyone's really racing and people aren't testing, then yeah, it all blows up. It's a disaster. And even then, though, if they're all racing, we still have a good idea of, if they're all racing, Elliott still does well. Truex still does well. Hamlin, Harvick, they all still do well. It just kind of messes up the value. So it might not be a complete, nuclear bomb exploding in your lineups.
Let's see. So I would imagine you're playing a lot of the 8. I have one lineup in the 8, and I'm playing a lot of single entries tomorrow. So
I haven't even really decided. I'll probably just play, the big payoff as always. I haven't thought about any of the other tournaments. But, yeah, I'll probably chase the big GPP. I don't know how many lineups I'll build. I guess we got to see what qualifying is. The problem we could run into with qualifying is we could get mass chalk. And if it's way too chalky, then, yeah, I could see saying, it could just be a giant split at the top.
Well, what else do we have? We we have 5 more slates just this week, so I'd much rather focus on the actual plate races to build a lot of lineups in.
The stupid pop-ups. Yeah, but I don't know about those. If you ask me, if we're looking at this week, maybe the duel would be safer, but trucks, it's just completely random. Xfinity's going to be completely random. I don't really play. I mean, last year I only play a couple lineups in these plate races. I think this one might be the best place to go in heavy.
Really? That's
well, if it's gonna. I mean, anything can happen in the Daytona 500. There's a lot of volatility. Same thing with all the plate races. Anything's not going to happen in this race. It's an exhibition race. They don't want to tear the cars up. There's good road racers and there's bad road racers. If any race this week is going to be conservative and predictable, it has to be this one, right? And if we can predict what could happen, if we have a better chance of predicting this one, then you would want to go heavier on this one, wouldn't you? Theoretically,
yeah, but at least I have practice for the plate tracks.
Get out of here with plate track practice. What are you going to learn with plate track practice? I'm not even looking for it. That feels like a chore having it. I'm considering, because with the first practice, that's just going to be straight qualifying attempts. I'm thinking about not even looking at that lap. I might not even pull that data. I probably will pull the lap data, I suppose, but I don't see the point in it. They're just going to go make Q runs.
I mainly look at it because everybody knows I mainly play guys from the back, like heavily. I mean, 1 or 2 guys in my lineups are going to be spread out through the field, but I need the practice to see what punts I like the most, what underfunded teams I like the most, specifically in Xfinity and truck, because when we didn't have practice last year, or at least qualifying last year, I didn't know how bad, let's say, Dozat in the 28 car. Like, I had no idea how, and I didn't play him, luckily, but I didn't realize how off the pace he was. I can at least see how
they had been halfway decent in years past, though, that NYFD team. But, obviously not getting practice is pretty bad for some of these teams who have a car that or truck doesn't ever run. So, you got a question?
Really?
With the Patreon.
Oh, yes, there we go. That's what I was clicking on. Sorry, I was switching through Facebook. Yeah, everybody in my Patreon, right after we get done with this, I'll make my video for the Clash tomorrow. The Patreon stuff should be up right when that video's uploaded, because I make the projections and everything. And the projections are actually going to be free for the Clash, just because I don't like the slate. I'm not going to be playing a lot, so my projections.
I don't understand it. Why don't you like it?
There's so many bad plays. There's going to be a player pool of like 8 people that we're all going to be playing, depending on the grid. And so, I
don't necessarily agree. I think the pool is deep enough. You think it's too shallow, that there's only, look, we can play Elliott, we can play Truex, Hamlin, Harvick, Kyle Busch is in play, Blaney's in play, Keselowski's probably in play. I'm probably just being too much of a lunatic saying I think he's going to test. Logano's in play. Bowman, Byron are very affordable and they go in a different route. If you go with 3 of these top guys, and you might need to given starting position, then that makes your lineup have to go way down here, and then you miss out on these guys in between. And so then there's a lineup construction where you only take a couple guys from the top and you take the guys in the middle. There's a couple different ways to go. I think that this thing's wide open, and these guys at the bottom, we're all kind of equally blind here in trying to figure out what's going to happen. And I would guess at this point that the ownership and who gets played down here is going to be completely dictated by qualifying. And so if you really want to swerve away from people, you just don't let qualifying determine your ownership of a Tyler Reddick or Chris Buescher. I think it's an interesting, and now obviously this could all go out the window if we get some really stupid starting positions. And he could be right, but I think it's better than a plate race.
Really, I think this is the worst slate I've ever seen. I'm terrified of it. I'm not lying.
such a casual, conservative race. They're just going to go out there, and the guy that should win is going to be the guy that should win. The guy that should finish second should finish second. It's like old school intermediate tracks, or well, not old school, but a couple years ago, where the cream will rise to the top.
Yeah. And
now,
John,
if you make a mistake, though, like Kozlowski flat spots his tires at the beginning of stage 3, you're not going to be able to rebound from that. And you could easily see if, like Kyle Busch, he flat spotted his tires in stage 1 when he had the lead. It's such a short race and there's only one pit stop. If you have to make an unscheduled pit stop, you're done. That's it. Game over. So that adds another element to it, where we act like Elliott, Truex, and Hamlin, all these guys are a sure thing. One mistake, you miss the chicane, you flat spot a tire, you get into the infield grass a little bit, it's over. And all the lineups that have you in it, they're dead. You probably should make a bigger point of that. I think there's several questions here you might want to open.
Yeah, well, I was trying to there. No, but you're good. No, John, I mean, the qualifying matters a ton because you can see who has a chance to have place differential. You can see who's going to end up having chalk, like we were just discussing. If Chase Elliott's in the back, I mean, everybody's going to play Chase Elliott because he's like the best play theoretically. And so you really can't make lineups without knowing the qualifying positions and everything like that. Typically, the construction for the road courses, just trying to get as many guys in the top 10 and DK points in your lineup, right?
I don't know. I think qualifying is going to be a big deal. I think qualifying is going to force everyone's hand. And, well, we'll know here in, a couple minutes?
No, hopefully, unless they don't post that at the right time, then we're just sitting here.
I'll know. I think it'll make me log in. I knew I should have logged out. Yeah. No, there it is.
Oh, there we go. 2 minutes.
It didn't pop up.
Why are you seeing that? And I don't. I'm logged in.
Click on. There's a thing to click on.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Hopefully it'll be a big screen in a second. I think you'll need the guy that lead. If I had to guess right now, I mean, I would just try to get guys that are going to finish up top 5, probably. I think you'll be able to pull that off. And then with a couple value guys that just move forward is a quick guess. What was the dock building like back in the day? What does that mean?
I assume Shane's talking about your document, but I'm sure he'll clarify.
Was the dock building like back in the day? Clarify that, then I will definitely answer that question. Yeah, we are waiting to see who starts in the back, but it could if it's Ty Dillon start. What if Ty Dillon starts last? Would you?
He's testing. No, he's testing. He's testing for 2 teams. He's the one guy I probably won't touch because he's not only testing. He's not testing. Starts
last. We know he can't go backwards. We know he's cheap, and if other people just have failures or people make mistakes and he doesn't make a mistake, I mean, if he goes from 22nd to 17th, that would be, I don't know, a decent amount of points, wouldn't it? We'll see. I don't know. We'll see when we get the qualifying set in. I wouldn't rule it out. Well, I guess the next question is, are you going to play the guy that starts last no matter what?
I think if it's anyone but Ty Dillon, probably.
If it's anybody but Ty Dillon.
Yeah, I don't like that play. Like I said, I think he's testing for Denny Hamlin's team.
So you think he's testing more than anyone else?
Yeah, because he's racing the Gaunt brothers car there in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, but Benedetto said he was testing. Kozlowski alluded to testing. How much of a difference do you think there's going to be there? So let's say he tests the first 15 laps, which he will, but it doesn't matter because they're going to reset when you get the competition caution. You think he's just going to fall completely to the back and just take care of the car 100%?
I think 100%.
Okay. So that means he's completely off the board.
I would say
Truex is trying for a new contract. I think Truex just wants to win, period. And these teams, I think all of them could use the money. I would imagine the only team that doesn't really probably need the money is Chase Elliott. I think that Hamlin's probably financially set. Kevin Harvick's set, but then Kevin Harvick's going to race to win. And Kyle Busch probably is good to go. But who knows with Kyle Busch? He's got all those businesses. All right. Are they live?
We're still waiting.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right. I think it's playing. How bad do you think this stream's going to be?
I'm still trying. I don't know how you're having more success when you're logged in to when you're not logged in
with no account.
Yeah.
I didn't have people in here getting ready to watch.
Hello, race fans. I am Alex
Here we
Weaver,
go.
and welcome to the start of the 2021.
I don't really need to hear her talk.
Yeah,
I think I might be distracted. Can I get closed captions? But I do kind of need to hear something.
Man, you're ahead of me. I'm still not even hearing her talk.
All right. Well, we'll wait on Al Weave to tell us what's going on. We've got some Kansas swill here.
We announced last year that this event was moving to our road course. We've had the opportunity because of COVID to see these cars on the road course in 2020. I think 2021 under the lights tomorrow night is going to be.
This guy seems pretty nervous for a Zoom.
Yeah, he does. Watch my account get
Just
flagged.
get excited.
Streaming this.
Gotta wait. Gotta wait.
Oh man.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't need to see that.
No, just mute that.
All right.
I'll keep you updated. If they tell you anything, I'll let you know.
I wonder if we'll get pulled for showing this. Who cares? Whatever.
Who cares? This is my channel.
All right. So, you get the strike. You get 3 of them. You'll be fine. You're not even monetized, are you?
No, not yet.
You still got to get to 1,000 people. So what do you got to lose?
That's true. I got nothing to lose.
Not yet. Now, if you had money, then it'd be a situation. It looks like Al Weave is recording from her apartment, probably in Mooresville. Yeah. All right, here we go.
Qualify for the 2021 Busch Clash are as follows. You had to be a 2020 Busch.
Don't need to hear. They just make these rules up. They just made this stuff up to get it. This is a change.
Busch Clash winners who competed full-time.
And Kay, to answer your question, I'm personally not looking at fast laps any differently. I mean, it's 0.05 of a point, so I'm not too concerned about that.
Who do you think will run the most fast laps tomorrow? Elliott or Truex?
Probably Elliott or Truex or Hamlin, one of those 3 guys.
Do you need to roster all 3?
Yeah, I think you do.
Really?
I think you do. I think this is a very top-heavy lineup construction.
Start with driver points. So, AG, you're going to be the guy that gets to lead us off.
This is so awkward.
In the middle of the table there. That's tomorrow night, pal. That's tomorrow night, not tonight. Okay.
It's like NBA draft without the managers.
I'm going to go D for the double. Let's take D. All right, here we go. With the first pick, you're starting number 7. Starting number 7. Lucky number 7. Middle of the pack.
That's probably the best situation possible.
About 70% ownership there with a 7 spot for
maybe 65, 63.
65.
Yeah, that's probably the best situation.
Look at Jerry Boland's drinking the Keystone Light. Oh, that's a no for me. BK at 4.
Yeah, that's.
Oh wait, no, that's Logano, isn't it now? No, wait, no, that's
that's Brad.
That's Brad Keselowski.
We know what we're doing. I trust us.
Yeah. Logano at 10.
Okay, with the 4th pick in tonight's draft, we'll go with Mr. Chris Gabehart.
Oh, well, here we go.
Jesus, man, this is rough.
Okay, you're going to be starting 3rd.
Oh,
Second row.
let's see who's starting in front of him. He's on the inside lane too. That's huge.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really
That
big.
is a big deal. You do not want to start 4. Uh-oh.
Okay, you're starting 17.
Chalk. Chalk. You got to play him.
Next, you got Mr.
Oh man.
Loser.
Outside the front row, the second spot. One trick.
I think it's probably going to be a no.
Yeah, that's a no. That's a big no. I'm slightly ahead of you. I think that's why I need to watch yours.
Oh, yeah. Okay. You're starting 18.
Ah. Well, have fun playing the Clash, guys. It's all
Right? It's horrible.
it's 2 possible lineups.
All right, B. Starting 16.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, man. This is rigged for
Jack in the back.
Yeah, this is so bad.
What is Todd Gordon doing? He's a fire suit in his house.
That's like when we can buy. That's not even a team fire suit.
On the pole.
Uh-oh. Okay, maybe that's interesting.
All right, so you're starting to go for technically the first time we've seen cars on track. Does that make you feel nervous?
No, not at all. What a better place to start a short race.
You think Hamlin passes Blaney pretty quickly?
I think so. I would say so. I think Hamlin leads the first part of the race now.
Yeah. And he'll probably run away at the race. And then you've got Truex in the back, Harvick in the back.
Yeah.
Well, since he took one, I guess I want to take let's see what we got left. Go for 5th here. Let's take Q.
Pick 15, Mr. McCall.
Oh, close.
15?
All right, AD crew chief, Mr. Justin Alexander. Your turn.
Yeah, let's go C. Is that still up?
C is left. Yes, sir.
Children's. Yes, sir. Let's do C.
All right, you're starting 19.
No, I don't want to play Austin Dillon.
Yeah. Don't even play. Don't play double ups. Don't. I mean, like, save your money for the week.
Yes. How are you, Chip?
Good, sir.
Okay, come on, Greg.
Let's go E.
There we go.
Okay, E. Starting 12.
That's a no for me.
All right, new to the 24 car, Mr. Ryan Fu. What you got there, sir?
Hey, Chip. Let's go.
Rudy.
Look at Rudy, so happy.
That's probably going to be a no for me there.
That's a big no.
Still got a couple top teners here, so we'll see. All right,
We
number 10.
still got a ton of spots in the back.
What you got, sir?
Yeah, we got 14th and 13th.
Yes, sir. T is a top. Starting 21st.
Ooh. I think that's
All right.
still in play for me.
Yeah, still in play.
Let's go with F there. That going up.
Start towards the front, please.
You can start 8.
Yeah, that's a no.
All right, there's a 1 top 10. No, 2 top 10 spots left. You got 6th and 9th. All right, Eric Jones, Mr. Jerry Baxter. You got the next choice.
All right.
I'm going to go with J.
All right, yeah. All right, you're starting 9th.
That's not going to work for me. I'll take him out.
All right. Crew chief of the number 8, Mr. Randall Burnett. Yes, sir. You got a couple left here.
5 is not a
How
couple.
about take L?
Okay. You're starting 6th. 6th.
God,
Nope.
he's the guy I would have played too, but I can't do it now.
Everybody in the top 10's been picked, so we got 11 is the best we got left. All right, Mr. Luke Lambert, what do you got, sir?
Let's go with I. He's a little bit like a 1, even though it's gone.
All right, you're starting 13th.
He's trying to. Oh, 13th.
That's no.
All right, Mr. Brian Patty.
Go get that Stenhouse chalk.
3 left.
We really are, man.
Chip, I'll take G.
Okay. You're starting 20th.
I told you. Race4theprize.com. I hope you guys read that article. You're welcome.
All right, and Mr. Scott James.
Stenhouse Clash Mania. I knew it. I knew it. We are screwed.
Okay. Starting 11th.
Is that Newman?
Yeah.
All right, which one do you
That takes Newman off the board.
think I'll take the U?
And then what's left?
14.
14th. Oh,
And that's a hell no.
Well, here's the starting
Right
lineup.
there, folks.
Busch Clash, under the lights of
I
the
told you Stenhouse was going to be the guy.
he called it.
Good. Ryan Bling on the pole, Eric Amarola bringing up the rear.
All right, I don't need to hear from them anymore. And let's just run the optimizer really quick, even though this might get me in trouble, but whatever. Let's just see what it says without making any adjustments. All right, and I think people probably can guess what the chalk's going to be while it runs. While that's running, we can just really quickly look at ranking-wise based on value. Austin Dillon's ranking as number 1. Point per dollar. Ricky Stenhouse is number 2. I haven't adjusted anything, and those aren't really that crazy. 10th, or what have him finishing? 9th. I could dial that down some. Stenhouse at 10th. I probably will dial those down some, but they're showing up as the best point per dollar plays. This is a weird slate. And then Hamlin, I got to change that, though. Well, I got to change that, don't I? Because Truex is not going to get 10 hog points, so that's a waste. Ignore that run. What do you think? Hamlin at least 12?
Yeah, probably.
And I'll be.
They like your motivation tab that you added.
Yeah, well, it could be completely wrong. So be careful with that, folks.
I'm doing one called a test tab. It's just my
Yeah.
DNF one.
Going the binary route probably might be a little too strong. Let's run this again and see what we get. Don't report me for this, folks. This is not a lineup. I'm not giving out a lineup to anyone who's going to. This is just what some computer algorithm is saying at the moment. All right, so after I've changed it, Hamlin still is not that great on the projection. I probably need to dial all these guys down a little bit, go a little more conservative with how I have them finish. But Almirola, Stenhouse, Dillon seem to be the value. Let's see what this says, and then I'm going to adjust it. Before it concludes, do you think we're going to get do you think these guys are going to be in the winning lineup?
Yes.
All right. I need to change that too. Going to 4 on Elliott was too low.
Oh, Eagles.
What's the what kind of logic is that? Elliott gets 4 points, and then Truex starting 18th gets 4 points. Come on, man. What am I
It's
doing?
all right. It's all right. You're doing this on the fly. It's fine.
It shouldn't be more than 25 though. Let's go 8. 8, 12, 4.
Eagles, I'll get him to answer that when he's done with doing his
We'll run
stuff.
it one more time. Okay. What's the question?
Let me get it up for you.
How do you do your opto for 20 lineups? What you want to use is the multi-mass entry tool for that. Or you can just run the optimizer 20 times. You can just adjust things. You can lock guys in, lock guys out, exclude it, but it's always just going to run the best ideal one lineup. Now, the mass multi-entry tool kind of runs the same way, and it'll give you 20 lineups. And there's, if you go to race4theprize.com, you'll see a YouTube video that explains exactly what you need to do, which is really almost nothing. All you got to do is just copy and paste some information in. I got to make sure that you'll just like see this MME tab. You'll copy and paste this information into it, and then it'll just crunch a bunch of lineups, and it'll give you 20 lineups. All right, so let's see what it said. It did not take Elliott, but it did take these place differential guys and Almirola and Dillon and no Stenhouse. What? I guess Almirola just got more raw points than Stenhouse, and it took those guys. All right, so even if we do go a little bit conservative with Stenhouse or Dillon, they're still going to end up as the projected guy, right?
Yeah.
They're going to be clear. Is there anyone in their neighborhood? So, I mean, let's take Stenhouse down to 13. Let's take Dillon down to 13. Let's take Almirola down to 13. Let's dial these guys back. Get Benedetto at 10s. All right.
Yeah, big. They'll probably get those starting things up in a few moments. It normally takes a while, even when it's live qualifying on a weekend. They got 24 hours to do it, so they'll get it
For
up there in a
what?
second. Because
Tracking
DK,
input. Yeah. They're always pretty good though with like the trucks and Xfinity about getting that turned around pretty quickly.
Mhm.
All right. So I got really conservative with Stenhouse there and with Newman or not Newman, with Almirola. I still think they're going to ding. Well, actually, maybe not. I mean, if you look at the point per dollar now, these guys have dropped significantly. Buscher's now higher.
Let's look at this. Oh, well, Newman got in.
It did. He's number 2. Yeah, I mean, well, that's interesting because, man, I can't believe it knocked. That says 9. Let me go back. Is that reading that right? Yeah, it is. So I've got Stenhouse. Almirola dropped that much if he only finishes 13th. Did. All right. Well, Newman. Man, let's dial that back a notch. Still 5th. But let's say he finishes 12th. That jumps significantly. His low price definitely helps. That's a huge swing. So if he finishes 11th, he's 11th point per dollar wise. 10th jumps up to 5th. I don't know about that.
Okay, so
Dylan looks like, why is Dylan? So Dylan's safer just because he's cheaper than Stenhouse. He's cheaper than Almirola. Although he's starting a little bit closer, it's just a point per dollar wise. He's not necessarily safer by any means. Well, let's start with the obvious. Trick starting 18th seems like probably the lock of the century. Think?
Yeah, I would probably take Kyle before Harvick. If I had to say one of those guys does better, it'd probably be Kyle.
Yeah, I hate to go to the Busch beer route, but I don't know if I completely agree. Kyle Busch could make a mistake too pretty easily.
Yeah, where Kurt Busch isn't optimal, right? No, he's not. Oh no, he is.
So Cash would probably go Harvick, Busch, Trick. I won't do a complete lineup, but I'd say those 4 guys would be the core of it. Agree or disagree?
I agree.
Maybe you could swap to Elliott, which isn't that crazy because you're going to get more place differential that way. But I don't, even if you do, well, it could be. I mean, it could really come down to Elliott versus Hamlin. But let's just say it's those guys, and that leaves you with what, 37,300, so 12,3. You got plenty of options down here with 12,3.
Who leads if Hamlin doesn't lead off the bat? Like, say if Hamlin, like, we're assuming Hamlin leads throughout the first 2 laps. What if he doesn't lead?
So we mentioned, remember, the 4 spot is a terrible lining up on the outside in second row at Daytona road course, so it can't be Keselowski. The outside's not that great either for 2. The inside is the place to be. So I would say if Blaney nails it, he can do something. But if not, Hamlin takes him 3 wide, goes underneath, and makes it work. Mm-hmm. I think. So then we've got 5 is Byron, and then Elliott's staying on the inside. I think once you get that far back, it's not too much of a hindrance. Like being on the outside once we get that far back is probably not as big of a deal, but I think it's Hamlin because they're not going to run that hard. I wouldn't imagine for the first 15 laps. It's either Hamlin or Blaney. So if you want to pivot away in GPPs, I guess you could go Blaney.
I think if you're playing if I was going to play a lot of lineups, I would probably pivot more on my two guys who aren't Truex, Harvick, that group, I would probably try and pivot more to people starting 10th to 5th and just throw those guys in line. Like William Byron, maybe. I'd really like Tyler Reddick going in. He's starting 6th. That's a rough spot to start.
Let's see if we can eliminate some people real quick. All right. So Ty Dillon, let's say no. Cole Custer, no. Maybe leave Busher. Tyler Reddick's no. I'd say no on Eric Jones. What do you think? You leaving Eric Jones in?
I would leave Eric Jones in.
Starting 9th?
I would leave him in. You have to do something. If you're, I mean, Eric, I don't think it's going to work. Flat out, guys. I don't think Eric would work, but he'd be a guy I would play if I'm going to pivot somewhere.
Well, let's just take him out for now then. Right. So if you build 10 lineups, how many lineups would Eric Jones be in?
Probably 2.
I'm taking him out. William Byron?
No.
I'm taking him out.
Yeah.
And not that Byron can't have a good race, but this price is prohibitive in that if you roster him, I don't know what the upside is. Not very good. But he prevents you from getting another one of these top tier guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think you had to say the same thing for Alex Bowman. Alex Bowman's got to lead every lap. You want to go completely wild and try to separate from the field, then maybe, but I don't think it works. I'm taking him out. Obviously, this isn't set in stone. We can change it. But the first run, I don't have a problem. If someone said I'm taking Alex Bowman out, I'd say it's fine. Do you have a problem with taking any of these guys out?
No, not any of these guys. The player pool is going to be no, keep him in.
Let's be aggressive and take him out.
No, keep him in. No, stop.
This really narrow this down. This is not set in stone. We could. Yeah. I really wanted to try to see if we're being really strict.
Okay.
Look, you would for sure play Chase Elliott. He's definitely on the board. Truex is definitely on the board. Hamlin, definitely. Harvick, yes. Busch, yes. Blaney probably got to stay in. I'm going to take Keselowski out.
Take Ryan out too, because if this is if Hamlin does well, if Hamlin does well, that means Blaney doesn't work.
All right. I mean, in that theory, I guess, right. If we're all in on Hamlin, you got to take Blaney out. Logano's going to stay barely though, because if I'm spending 8,100, I think I would rather spend a couple more and get these extra place differentials from guys that have just the same ceiling.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say no. I'm playing Logano too. This is a really aggressive removal of drivers.
So the group that we have right here is, I think this is what people will work with. I think this is the majority of ownership, and that's why I'm not
Newman
playing a whole lot.
Does Newman just stay because he's just cheap enough?
Well, let's say somehow if he finishes inside the top 10, that extra 2 points that position gives him from where he's starting is going to be huge.
Well, I mean, for him to finish inside the top 10, he's got to beat. I mean, he's not going to outrace these guys. I'm way too aggressive here with some of these. He's not going to finish ahead of Elliott, Truex, Hamlin, Harvick, Busch. Do you agree with that so far?
I agree.
Logano.
Yes, he finishes ahead of Logano.
He's going to finish ahead of Logano.
I think so. I really do.
Why? Newman is going to finish ahead of Logano.
I think he is.
Why?
Because if Logano isn't going to win this race, he doesn't have a shot. There's no way he even competes.
How
for
can he not have a shot? He finished second in the Roval.
There's other guys. Look, this is going to be an ego-driven race between Elliott, Truex, Hamlin, and Harvick. Those guys are going to be fighting each other like crazy. If that's the case, I don't think Logano is even a contender. And I think if that's the case, they're going to throw in the towel and just mess around at the stage caution and mess around with setup.
All right. Well, I'll let it slide. I completely disagree. Does Blaney finish ahead of Newman?
Yes.
Keselowski.
I don't know.
How do you not know Keselowski? You know for sure that Logano is not going to race, but you're not sure.
Well, like we just said Keselowski's going to test. I can't.
I think he will. I think he will. So I don't think Logano will test as much as Keselowski could possibly test. Alex Bowman ahead of Newman. I say yes.
I say no too. Yeah.
What do you think Bowman's doing? Bowman with his brand new team and his new sponsor is just going to go out there in the first race and then just take it to the back.
How did Johnson do at the road courses last
year? He was
year?
Awesome.
Was he? Maybe I'm just blind.
So he finished fourth last year in the Daytona road course and was up front the entire race.
Yeah, okay, that's true. Okay, yeah, then he will finish better.
And
I don't know why. I just forgot.
And Bowman, when he tried to race, I mean, remember Bowman had the incident in stage 1 and just kind of phoned it in and then turned it on late, and he still finished 12th. And he's been great in these Roval races before, or at least top 10. I don't know. I mean, Kurt Busch, you think he finishes ahead of Newman?
Yeah.
Right. So just so far, the best case scenario for Newman is probably 11th. And he has to outrace all of these guys who are equal, if not better.
Mm-hmm. I need to go. I haven't messed with my projections at all. I'm looking at what you're doing. Not messing with them. I think Newman finishes 11th.
You could bump him up a couple, and I wouldn't have. Things could fall his way, but he did finish 19th in this race last year and didn't run very well. And didn't run very well at all last year. I wouldn't be crazy. I would much rather take the place differential from Austin Dillon, who did run this road course a couple weeks ago. I don't know if he's going to test more or practice more. I don't know.
What is Eric Almirola at? Are you not?
I put him at 13th.
And he's not optimal? That's crazy.
It's because he's 6,600. He still scores 38 points. So he gets 38 points. Stenhouse gets 37. Austin Dillon gets 36. Newman only gets 32. So I've adjusted a little bit. Now Almirola's up to 10th. Kurt Busch is in a really interesting spot. We're kind of overlooking him at 7,400.
Let me just make a lineup on DraftKings real quick. I want to see what salary we're messing with, because Eric seems like an easy play that's not clicking right now. Or not easy play, but one that should work easier than what we're trying to get it to work at.
I mean, if Logano finishes third, that is almost a 6 FPPK. It's just the problem is his price prevents you from getting probably 3 of these guys in your lineup. Even with that being said, it is only.
Now, I say that. Do you think Almirola's really, really highly owned?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, look who he's going. Look at the options going to be. It's going to be Almirola, Stenhouse, or Dillon. I think people are going to say they'd much rather play Eric Almirola than Ricky Stenhouse, and you probably rather play Eric Almirola than Austin Dillon, who didn't even run this race last year. And I mean, if you were looking at spreadsheets for Austin Dillon, 19th, 23rd, 39, 31, 27, 24, 16, he hasn't been particularly good. Now, Almirola hasn't been much better, but I think people have a little bit more confidence in Eric Almirola. And plus, he's starting a little bit further back. A little more expensive, though. Mm-hmm. I would say Stenhouse would be the lowest owned of the 3. Unless, of course, they're buying into this. Everybody's testing and Stenhouse isn't, which that could be a case. Let's see. What did the optimizer spit out the last time? It went Truex, Hamlin, Harvick. It took Logano. It took Kurt Busch. So that is a different build if you go the Logano-Kurt Busch route. Right now, Kurt Busch is showing up as your number 1 point dollar play, and then it's taken Ryan Newman again. I hate it. Is it just too? You're $100 short of getting Austin Dillon?
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, I think that's what the lineup's looking like. Yeah.
So
that's why
I'm wondering so people could pivot. Going to Bowman or Byron doesn't make any sense from Logano. You want to stay with Kurt Busch. Well, what you could do is you would just go from Kevin Harvick down to Kyle Busch.
Mm-hmm.
You go from Kevin Harvick down. Probably shouldn't say this. You're giving lineups away. You get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble. We're not giving lineups. We're showing a bunch of different options.
Yeah, it's the same thing that people do when they show their fantasy labs or fantasy cruncher.
Trust me, I'm a person who's done this before, and I got reported for it. So,
good thing it's on my channel. That's good.
No one else has ever gotten reported except for me. I'm the only person that's ever gotten in trouble with this. Go figure. Doing NASCAR, which no one pays attention to. These guys give away lineups for baseball, football, for $1 million contests, and no one ever gets in trouble. And then
you go on Twitter and says
whatever. Do a NASCAR contest in the middle of July that no one's paying attention to, and I get flagged.
You know what? I am.
Should take. He needs to play. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm withdrawing my entry in the $8. What
do you mean?
I'm not playing that contest. That's not worth it. That's going to split.
It's $8. It's $8. You're going to tell me it's not worth it.
That's another truck lineup that I can add with dumb drivers in it.
Well, from that perspective, I guess you're right. There's going to be less people piling up in the truck race.
Yeah, I'm not playing the big Clash contest, guys.
There's ways to swerve. You can go heavy on these guys up here. You can go a little lighter and then go down to Kurt and Logano. And let's say you play 2 value guys. What happens if I'm just going to mess around with this. Let's lock in Stenhouse. Let's lock in Austin Dillon. And let's see what it spits out. Just to see what happens if you go that direction. I know this is kind of a backwards way of doing it, but I just want to see what you can come up with on the top end if you go 2 cheapies. Because so far what we're seeing is just one cheap guy, like either Newman. And that might be the case where you just have to take one super cheap guy. What happens if you take 2 cheap guys? Can you get 4 big studs, I guess?
That's what I was messing around with.
So you get the 4 big studs. Yeah. You got the Kurt Busch kind of in between. Maybe just straight up chase place differential. And you don't worry about Hamlin. You don't. Because even if Hamlin leads, let's say Hamlin leads the first 15, then Elliott leads some, and they split the hog points, but the place differential guys all get it towards the front too.
Like, so that lineup is something that I expect to see a lot.
Yeah, that's probably going to be a very, like if you were just building on your own with your own hand without an optimizer, you probably would come up with this lineup or a variation of this lineup. How much money is left over in this lineup? That's got $500 left. So I imagine you're going to see this with Stenhouse Dillon, this with Stenhouse Almirola, this with Dillon Almirola. So it's like that's going to be. So if you're playing a variation of that, of these guys right here, this is 7-player pool. That's all going to be a pile up at the top, right?
Yeah, and it's going to be separated by very few points. So even if,
maybe you do go Newman.
Do you just say screw it and go tie?
This is one guy you said.
I know, but everything is pointing to not him. If you play
Ty Dillon, but then again, I can't believe we're considering playing Ryan Newman starting at 11th. What does he get? 27 points. That's not going to work. 4.9, and that's being really nice to Ty Dillon, saying he's going to finish 15th. That's kind of a stupid projection. That's still stupid, but we'll just take it.
It's so bad. Oh, man.
All right, so let's highlight who we think are going to be very, very popular. I'm not quite sure that Elliott's got to be, right? Why are we changing our mind now?
Chase Elliott's the most popular for casuals.
These guys have got to be very popular, right?
Yeah, all those guys.
I think Kurt Busch might go under owned just because of construction. These guys are going to be pretty popular too.
Mm-hmm.
So then I think the swerves, I mean, was it Big Action mentioned Logano? Are these the guys that you might want to consider here in the orange? Logano, Kurt Busch, Chris Buescher.
I think would you play?
I think I would much rather play Buescher than Newman.
I would much rather play DiBenedetto over Logano.
The 4 here. You just can't afford. You'd rather play DiBenedetto over who?
Over Logano. If I was looking at this.
Why?
It's the same car as Logano, really.
It's not the same driver. It's not the same setup.
But look how much different the salary would be. Say if you made a lineup and you had to choose between those, that's something that's going to get you on an island.
So how high? What's the best possible finish you could see DiBenedetto getting?
Let me take a gander real quick.
I've got him at 10th. Maybe he gets to 8th.
I don't even think he does that. I think it's like 12.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Logano can legitimately finish 3rd. The only thing that would stop him from finishing 3rd is if you're right and he just goes out there and tests.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't, then he could finish 3rd. Logano at 8,100 is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
And he's starting 10th. And you've got all these other obvious plays, which was going to drive his ownership down. Kurt Busch, we'll see what comes of Kurt Busch, but it's a great play. The only thing that hurts Kurt Busch is just there's other great plays, and he's kind of in no man's land. But he's too cheap as well. He was too cheap to begin with. Now he's way too cheap with his starting position.
Mm-hmm. I think
Buescher finished 5th. I mean, we know that he got there through stage shenanigans, but he held his position though.
So he did drive through the field. He was I remember he was like 16th, 15th, 14th the majority of the race.
Yeah, so I mean he benefited from some stage cycling, but when he got up front, he made some passes and he definitely didn't lose spots. So he has enough talent. They clearly are probably comfortable with the car. They don't necessarily need to do any more testing. He's starting a couple spots further back than Newman. I mean, it's off, so you're trying to separate from Almirola and Stenhouse and Dillon because the ownership's going to be really high.
Yeah. So this is how I view it without saying a lineup or anything. I think the optimal is going to be, and the only way you can really get around it, it's going to be 4 good plays that we see, and then
what does that mean?
Well, I don't want to say anything. I'm more paranoid about that stuff. But
we're running enough. I'm going to make sure that we run enough different lineups here.
It's
so here we'll go another crazy stupid example. Just because I want to run enough lineups so that no one could say, "Oh, that game's lineup." Well, we put like 15 lineups.
Okay, let me tell you
what happens if I run these 3 guys. To see what happens. This is stupid, but I'm trying to run a couple lineups just so that people don't say that we were giving away lineups. We're not giving away any lineups whatsoever. I'm just running an optimizer and whatever, whatever you want to do.
Put Eric Jones next, lock him in, and then let it run with everybody else.
All right.
Let's see. Anybody got any questions? I know you guys are commenting. I've been looking at it. I just haven't seen any questions. That's why I haven't brought them up on the screen.
I mean, this line's probably going to leave a ton of money left on the table, but I just wanted to smash it through to see. Plus, I just want to run. So you get the 3 top guys. How much money does it spend? $1,500. I mean, so this kind of sounds stupid, but if Almirola, Stenhouse, and Austin Dillon all get top 10s for whatever reason, because other people just don't run, or then that could work. I would say it's a very low, like 5% chance of that happening, but maybe you do leave money on the table to be different, but probably not. All right, you want to lock Jones in?
Yeah, let's lock Jones in and see what happens here.
All right. So I'm gonna get rid of these colors because it's a little much. Point per dollar wise, obviously those guys are all significant plays. Arms right there in the middle. Kurt Busch is showing up as number 1.
I'm really curious to see what this lineup looks like. That's not crazy. That's not.
No, that's not.
That's not crazy.
How much money's left too? Spends every single dime.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
And you could pivot down to De Benedetto if you wanted to get away from Jones. And obviously from Almirola, you can go with Stenhouse. You can go with Austin Dillon. If you go to Dillon, that opens up $900, and you can go up to Elliott here. So I hate to say this, and I'm sure if you enter 150 lineups tomorrow, you got a really good chance. You can
really
just
really. Oh, dude, I don't think they make their monny back. I think they tie up.
You don't think so?
I don't think you get your investment back. I could be wrong. I'm going to certainly look at well, I'm not in that contest, but I'll look through something to see where they finish. But I don't think you get your investment back. Maybe one guy. Maybe one guy.
People that tie at the top, but
yeah.
Like, I mean, if I had 150 lineups, I can cover. I mean, we did with the color coding. You just take out enough of those red guys, and you build enough Almirola, Stenhouse, Dillon lineups. You sprinkle in enough Buescher, Newman lineups, and then you're going to cover your place differential guys and your one hog. Do you think there's one hog?
Yeah, I think so.
So you're thinking the winning lineup will either have Hamlin or Elliott, then, is what I'm getting.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's one way you could start building in. Say, all right, you got Hamlin. Who's your next pick? We won't do the whole lineup.
Let me look.
We don't want to get in trouble.
Are we picking from the top or value, or does it matter?
Let's do a hand build here, and you're just picking based on confidence, I guess.
Hamlin, Truex.
Truex is number 2.
Yeah.
Who's number 3?
Probably Kyle.
All right. I probably would have gone Harvick, but I'll let you go, Kyle.
And I imagine a lot of lineups are going to start with that same group of drivers.
It's either these 3, or you take Hamlin out, you put Elliott in.
Yeah.
And if you don't go Busch, you go like, this is the core right here.
So if this is the case, I might chase. I might chase place differential.
So now we've got 21.5 left for 3 drivers. That's about 7,000 per. The next question is, do you try to squeeze in one more top tier guy? If we put in Harvick, then that leaves us 2 picks, and you've got 12,300. That's still plenty of money.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah,
that's still a ton. He's still playing, and you're not really completely forced to play 2 value guys because of that money. You can get pretty. I mean, you've got all the value guys are still in play, and you can build up 10, 12 lineups just by swapping in value.
Do
the way to swerve away from that is, instead of going to Harvick, you go to Kurt Busch, and then that kind of throws you in a different direction. So with Kurt Busch, then you can go really cheap. I mean, you can probably squeeze Harvick and Kurt Busch into a lineup. I'm not going to put it on the screen because I don't want to get reported.
No, you're good.
Report it.
Well,
How bad is the pass on the new road course? Compared to the other road courses, this one was actually more racy than the Roval because it's a real road course. It's mainly because you can kind of set someone up on the infield, but you really have to be racing. So we saw like Hamlin and Truex make some moves on the infield, but the other guys aren't going to be able to make that move in the infield. The other place to really attack will be the chicane. But then that brings up another question. Do you really want to attack and be aggressive in this exhibition race on the chicane? Because you can absolutely destroy your car. What do you think they're really going to go after him?
I think the cars that can win it and that go into it, they'll race hard and push in that chicane.
I say that they will, but only at the end. And they might only try it once.
Yeah.
They're not going to try, 35 laps. They're not going to push it through the chicane 10, 15 times. They're going to give them a couple shots. And if they can't, I don't see most of these guys, because that's the best passing spot. But it is a high risk, high reward spot. And most of the guys aren't really going to do that. And it's kind of easy to block there too. I would weigh the Roval slightly ahead of Watkins Glen and Sonoma. If I were Sonoma, would probably be closer to Roval. Watkins, I don't know. I think Roval. What do you do with Watkins Glen and Sonoma?
I would lean more.
Generalize those two right now.
Yeah, I'd lean more Roval, and just with how especially how difficult turn one is at both tracks. I think that weighs heavily, because if you mess up turn one, your whole infield run is destroyed because you're trying to catch up the time that you lost there.
Yeah, probably the best bet is just the good road course racers will finish towards the top, and the guys that I don't think you really need to look at it. Obviously, the Daytona road course would be the number one spot to look at, but from there, I probably am just looking at who's a good road course racer as to oppose. You look at Kyle Busch's stats; they suck at these road courses.
Yeah,
but I still trust him. He's still a good road course racer. And I got to look specifically because I'm pretty sure in a couple of those Roval races, he was in a good spot and just made some mistakes.
I think what hurt Kyle more is the package that they were running. Now that we're at a lower downforce package, I think that helps him out a lot.
Yeah, I think that will help too. Because, that'll be another interesting kind of angle to look at. But overall, I would just look who's been good road course wise. But then you also have to factor in who might test. And Blake Kowalski, we are completely brushing him aside, and I could be completely wrong. But that's fine. It's going to be a no for me on BK.
Okay, last question for me before we end this. How likely is it that Elliott and Hamlin aren't optimal?
As we mentioned earlier on, that if you make one mistake, it's over. You're not going to recover. It's too short of a race. Truex made several mistakes last year in the Daytona road course race, was able to recover, but he got bailed out by some cautions, and it was a longer race. If you screw up, let's say Elliott makes a huge mistake. He really has to dig out. And then he has to want to try to dig out of this massive hole. Now, maybe NASCAR bails him out. That's another thing. If anyone's going to get the help of a caution to bring him back into the race, it would be Elliott, it would be Hamlin. I guess the one guy can make a mistake. That really applies more to the other drivers. If Almirola makes one mistake, well, there he goes. He's not going to work. But, if I had to guess, I think Hamlin or Elliott, one of them is going to have to be in the optimal lineup. At the end of the day, the winning lineup is probably going to have 4 or 5 drivers finishing inside the top 5. Maybe even 5.
Yeah, I agree.
4 or 5 drivers finishing in, let's say, the top 7. You think there will be 5 drivers finishing top 7 or 4 picks from your lineup in the top 7?
I think it's 5, and I think you will. I think within the first 2 laps, you'll figure out who's trying and who isn't. That's what really sucks is you'll know right off the bat if you're right or wrong.
If you say it's going to be 5, then that means it's got to be a Kurt Busch lineup, then, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. That's really what it's looking like.
Or a Joey Logano lineup.
It's one of those guys.
Now, if it's 4, then yeah, it's going to be Eric Almirola, Austin Dillon, or Eric Almirola, Ricky Stenhouse. Please don't report us.
No way.
I don't know.
We didn't give anything out, but I mean that's just the situation we're in with this. This is a rough slate.
I don't have a problem really with these hog points, and you can give a couple here, but yeah,
that's rough.
I think we covered it all.
I think we did.
A pretty good idea. Race4theprize.com. You can look at the spreadsheet. Some of you guys are already in here messing around with it, checking it out. If you click File and make a copy, then you can mess with your own projections. You can do your own optimizer, and you can try to, separate. But if you don't do that, you're going to be looking at the same thing as everybody else. And if you really are trying to get different and separate from the field, you really need to go to File and make a copy at some point. Now, if you make a copy and I make an adjustment on my end, it doesn't change yours. So if you make a copy tonight, you may want to come back in tomorrow after I've made some more changes and make another copy, just to let you guys know. But I encourage you to do that if you really want to kind of go your own road. Because if you're looking at the same stuff that I'm looking at, that Cruz is looking at, that everyone else is looking at, then we might end up in the same spot. You might want to force yourself to do a different sheet so that you go with Eric Jones, or you put Tyler. I don't think Tyler Reddick's on the board. Maybe Busher, maybe Newman. No Ty Dillon. No Ty Dillon.
My advice would be, if you're looking to take something down and need to be different, like you want to take that down and not split it, you have to play one crazy play. Play, the good plays everywhere else, but you got to pivot one wild play.
What would be your one wild play?
I can't say that because that's probably how I'll go.
I can't reveal.
I can't. But if you have my projections, you'll know who it is.
Well, I don't really care. So no, I mean, I don't care if I get money. At the moment, I could change my mind, obviously, but I think the way kind of be a little bit is Chris Buescher is probably where I'm leaning. I don't like the play, but if I'm trying to get away from Almirola and Stenhouse and Dillon and Ryan Newman, it's probably not even that crazy. His ownership's probably going to be pretty high. I'm going to change that. I think he will race. This motivation thing's nonsense. I don't know what I'm doing. Seemed like a good idea at the time. All right, so I guess tomorrow at 5:30 we'll be back at it again, and we'll try to basically say everything that we just said tonight.
All over again to more people.
Yeah, but we might, Twitter might, I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe someone will come out and say, I'm not racing. If we can find out, it would be great if we could find out if Buscher's really racing, if we could get some sort of message that Newman's not going to race, that would be awesome. Maybe we read Logano, an interview from Logano, we get an idea, if he's really going to go after it.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be something to look forward to tomorrow. All right, guys.
Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys tomorrow.